Welcome back, doctors. So, most Plab candidates actually lose marks in their opening. So, station opening is very important. Now, today we're going to talk about how to properly open your station. So, if you follow this structure, I guarantee you that you could get proper good marks for IPS as well as your structure. Now let's start by talking about what happens when you're outside the room. So outside the exam room, your prompt will be pasted on the door, so you need to read that prompt within 1.5 minutes. And while reading, you need to sanitize your hands. The hand sanitizer will be just by the door. Now, in the prompt, there are a few things that you need to remember. So you need to remember the patient's name, you need to remember the patient's age, the location. So location means that where this is happening. So as an example, you're an FY2 doctor in the GP surgery, or you're an FY2 doctor in the surgical department. Wherever they say that this is where it's happening, you need to remember that, because depending on the location, your management strategies are going to differ. Now, the fourth thing that you need to remember is the reason for the patient's visit. So if the patient has come for some headaches or something and it has been written in the prompt, you need to remember the reason. So when you go inside, you can use that. In case that it is not given, then that is okay, because there's nothing to remember. But pay much attention to the prompt, because this is going to give you a head start against the other candidates, because most of them, they do not pay attention to the prompt. When they go inside, they think that they can just wing it, but you can't wing it, because your examiner is going to check whether you are actually going to whether you actually put more effort into reading the prompt. So it is important to read your prompt, right? Now guys, before you go inside the room, do a little knock. Doesn't have to be a very loud one, just a little knock, just to let them know, whoever is inside, let them know that you're coming inside. And you don't need to wait until the person says enter to enter. You just knock and open the door and enter. This is just common courtesy, okay? And this will give off a very good first impression. As I told you guys earlier, this Plab 2 examination is more performance heavy than knowledge heavy. So whatever you're doing, you need to come off as very respectful and a nice person with a nice personality. Okay? Now, once you're inside the room, you need to quickly scan for what is there inside the room. So this is the place where this is the stage where you are you're getting to know that whether this is going to be an examination station or not. Because mostly, if it is an examination station, they would not say that this is an examination station. You need to discover it on your own. So if you see a mannequin, if you see an examination couch, if you see an otoscope or some other instrument, then you get to know that this is going to be an examination station. So you prepare accordingly, you prepare your history accordingly, you prepare your time accordingly. Now, this is very important, guys. Talking about your first impressions. So first impressions are really important to build a rapport with your patient, as well as showing your IPS skills to the examiner before even you start your station. So now once you go inside, you just go towards the examiner, you greet the examiner, you just say good morning or good afternoon. It's your choice if you want to add sir or ma'am. You don't have to, it's your choice. But you just have to say good morning or good afternoon and then show your badge. So this badge, what I'm referring to, is a little sticker that's given by the GMC when you're entering the building. So when you're entering the building, they will stick you with your GMC number, and you just have to show that sticker. Or in case that you remember your GMC number, you could just say the GMC number. That is still okay. Right, so this is it. And then you don't have to wait until the examiner says you may start. In case that they don't say you may start, they usually do. But in case that they don't say start, you could just ask, may I start? And then they will say yes, and then you go towards your patient. All right? So this first impression is something to give off your personality to the examiner as well as the patient before you even start your session. This is the first 10 seconds, and you're already showing off that you have a nice skill set, you have nice IPS. That's why this is important. Now guys, let's talk about how you're going to approach your patients. So your patient will be sitting either on a chair or a couch. So before you go and sit down, you need to greet your patient. So standing up, you greet your patient, say good morning or good afternoon, and then you go and sit down. This sitting down, do not be rushed. Do it calmly sit down, because although, as I said earlier, this is a performance-based exam, although this is an exam, it is still a consultation. So as the patient looking at you, they can't see a nervous, worried doctor. They want to see someone confident, and they want to believe in what you're saying. So you're walking, you're talking, you're smiling, and even your sitting down should radiate that confidence. I hope that I'm getting it to you. So with this, now you're introducing yourself. Once you sit down, you calmly introduce yourself. So when you're introducing yourself, you always use doctor plus your surname. So if it's my name is Alex Cordes, but I always introduce myself as Dr. Cordes. I will never introduce myself as Dr. Alex, because that would be wrong. Okay? So I am introducing myself, my name, and then the location. So where this is happening, whether it is GP surgery or surgical department or emergency department, wherever it says in the prompt, you can use it there. Okay, so it would go as hello, I'm Dr. Cordes. I'm one of the junior doctors here. You could say that, or instead of saying here, now you can use the location. Hello, I'm Dr. Cordes. I'm one of the junior doctors in this GP. After you introduce yourself, next comes confirming the patient's identity. Now, before I said that you need to remember the patient's name from the prompt. Now, this is where you're actually using it. You're using Mr., Miss, or Mrs., which is the prefix, plus the surname. So, what you should never do is that use Mr., Miss, or Mrs. with the first name, because I've heard most IMGs use something like that. So imagine my prompt say my patient's name is Mr. Jack McMurdo. So you can't use Mr. Jack. What you can use is Mr. McMurdo or Mr. Jack McMurdo. So basically what you're using with the prefix is the surname or the whole name of the patient. So it is either Mr., Miss, or Mrs. plus surname, or Mr., Miss, or Mrs. plus the whole name, right? Now, the other thing, do not use the patient's whole name without any prefixes. You don't need to guess what the prefix is, because that prefix will be given in the patient's in the prompt, your prompt. Now, if the patient is more than 18 years old, the patient should have a prefix. If the patient is less than 18 years old, then mostly your prompt will not have a prefix, and you yourself can use the name just without any prefix or anything. So imagine if Mr. McMurdo is 15 years old. Now, when I'm confirming the identity of my patient, I could just use, are you Jack McMurdo? This is because the patient is less than 18 years old. If the patient is more than 18 years old, then I am confirming the identity from the patient as, are you Mr. Jack McMurdo? or are you Mr. McMurdo? Right? Now, the next part is where if in case that you're talking to a colleague as a teaching station, or these problem colleague counseling stations, then it is okay for you to use the first name of the person. So because it's a colleague, so imagine if this person, Jack McMurdo or John McMurdo, is my colleague, a nurse or a doctor, then how I'm going to confirm the identity is that, are you Jack? That is okay, all right? That's simple and it's okay. This is only because the person is a known colleague of mine, okay? Now, the next thing is that do not use two different questions in the same question. What I meant by that is that do not say, could you please confirm your name and your age for me? That's two questions in one question. That sounds weird when I'm saying it, but yeah. So do not do that. Always use just one question and then the next question. Always confirm the identity first and then the age. Are you Mr. McMurdo? Could you please confirm your age for me? See, two questions. Okay? Now, guys, after you confirm the identity of the patient, then you need to ask for the name preference, what they want us to call them. Now, I have heard so many people say that you need to ask it delicately. There's nothing delicate about it. You just ask it, do not complicate it. You just ask it, but just don't forget to ask it. That is the only thing that matters. Okay? You just ask it in case that you remember the patient's first name. You ask, is it all right if I call you John? Then, or else you don't remember the patient's first name, or you actually want to know, like, what their preference is, then you can ask, how may I call you today? It's simple, it's not complicated at all, and you do not need to be gentle about this. Just ask it and finish it off, okay? It is not complicated at all. Next, we're going to talk about how we're going to open our consultation with the patient. Now, there are two types of prompts. One type of prompt is that the reason for the patient's visit is given, simply given there. You just need to remember the reason and then, put it when you're opening your consultation. So as an example, your prompt says something like this. Mr. Jack McMurdo, 80 years old gentleman, has come with some headaches. Now here, the patient has come with some headaches, which this is the reason for the patient's visit. Now it is given in the prompt. Now you're going to use this to open your consultation. So what you can do is that you can say something like this. I understand that you've been having some headaches. Could you tell me more about this? Now you have used the information given in the prompt and you're trying to build rapport with the patient. In the examiner's point of view, you are a person who's trying to build a proper rapport, which gives you marks in your IPS, which is the interpersonal skills, and your structure. It shows that you have a clear structure in your head. Now, the second type of prompts that we are going to come across is that the ones that does not actually give a reason. They're very vague. So, as an example, you might come across prompts like this. Mr. Jack McMurdo, a 68-year-old gentleman, has come with some concerns. Now, this is very vague and you do not know what the concerns are, but you know that he has come with some concerns and he wants to talk to you about this. Now, there are two ways that you can handle this. The one way to open your consultation in this situation is that you just say that, I understand that you have some concerns. Could you tell me what these concerns are? Now here I have used the some concerns, that part from the prompt, and directly used it to open my consultation. The other thing that you can do is that you could just simply ask, how may I help you? That's simple. What brought you to today? How may I help you? That's simple. But what you're going to lose marks in is that if the prompt says a specific reason and you do not use that reason, and without using that reason, you just generically start saying, what brought you in today? Now, that shows very poor structure and poor IPS, people. So you need to be very careful about this. So practice this kind of structure with yourself. Okay, practice it with your partner or in front of your mirror. All right. So guys, finally, a few tips for you to remember. First and foremost is that do not sound scripted. What you meant by scripted is that so many people are using the same source. So in those source, by source I mean that some tutors notes, and imagine those tutors, they say the same thing, and so many people who are following those tutors, they will use that same conversation tips, and they will say the same thing in the exam too. So imagine the person who came before you is a student from that tutor, and you are a student from the same tutor, and the person after you is a student from the same tutor, and all of you three are going to say the same thing in this one scenario. So that's why people are saying that being scripted is going to lose you marks, and most probably they're going to fail this station because this scripted part is so much of a no to GMC. So what you can do to not sound scripted is that you're going just get the idea from the conversation. Whatever you're reading, the source, read it, get the idea from it. Imagine what you're supposed to ask is this, and then put it on your own words. You just make it your own. Have some, your own twist. So this too, the openings that I talked about, don't use it as like this. Put a twist in it. Make it on your own. Make something, something natural for you. Okay, so that's how you're going to be better at this. And try to be natural. Think of the exam as like a whole consultation, because as doctors we have done so many consultations in our lives, and think of this as a big consultation, so that you are not going to be stressing out or worried about the examination part. Okay, and try to be more empathetic towards your patients, and try to listen to your patient and put the patient first. And when talking, sound confident and clear. Use very simple English. Do not use medical jargon. And always when you're practicing, and guys, always practice. Practicing is the key. So every day practice with your partner. If your partners are not available, practice with yourself in front of a mirror. So when you're practicing, make your own. Whatever you're saying, make it your own. Make your own scripts, so that whatever it is you're making, nobody can't copy it. Do not copy from one tutor's book and just study it. Do not study the conversations. Make the conversations your own conversations. Make a twist in it. Okay? And doctors, if you think you need a little bit more help with your Plab 2 preparation, you can always contact me for one-on-one coaching and mocks. My contact details are down below in the description box. You can subscribe for more Plab 2 tips coming up. Have a good day. Thank you, guys.